I was just able to confirm that the Broncos are. Wait, why'd you guys say, oh no?
Because I don't think
because you never know how this is gonna go.
The Broncos are signing wide receiver Josh Reynolds to a 2-year deal up to $14 million, a max value of $14 million. The Broncos now have their second highest paid wide receiver on the team.
Still not over that 10 mark.
It's still not over the 10 mark.
So they're
and
still
like
trending
the exact same price per year as Brandon Jones.
Yep.
Yeah. So Josh is now like the highest paid Broncos free agent signing this year.
And the crazy thing is, so when Jerry Jeudy leaves, everybody was like, oh, the drops. So you bring in the guy who made the 2 or 3 massive drops in the NFC Championship game, like right across the middle. No, I think he's a good player, but obviously when you think Josh Reynolds, the first thing that comes to mind is
drops.
Oh shit, he just lost the Lions the NFC Championship game. Now, if he loses the Broncos a championship game, they obviously took a big step in the right direction, but
that's very true.
I don't love that that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Dang. That's tough.
So what? I always think of him as a slot guy. He's listed 6'3", which
it's big.
Which is big. Receiver. It is a big slot guy, and maybe he plays more outside than I remember. But for all that stuff across the middle, that should be like his wheelhouse. Like that's what he's there for. Again, I can't forget those drops they had in the NFC Championship game right across the middle. But he was wide open. He was wide open. He would have been their number 2 receiver. Laporta tight end. You put him in front of him. But yeah, St. Brown would have been the number 1. Reynolds, short possession guy. I've almost said the Broncos should get him so many times. Like I did that mock off season.
What is he talking about?
It was it was getting Tyler Boyd. But no, he
just said all he could think about was the drops, and now he's saying he was pushing for the Broncos to get him.
No, I was not pushing for him, and the drops were kind of wide.
But it's needed.
Wait, so were you pushing for him or no?
No, but I do see.
What did he say? 30 seconds.
He said, I almost said I was
no. Okay, I was not pushing. I see why you would want a guy like that because we talked about like Tyler Boyd, for example, one of those slot type receivers is kind of like the one piece that's missing. Josh Reynolds, probably the best one left on the market, almost definitely. As he says about the drops, shit happens, man. Didn't want to drop them. Shit happens.
Yeah, I think it fills a need for the Broncos. They definitely needed a wide receiver. We talked about it yesterday on the show, the top 5 needs for the Denver Broncos, and one of them was wide receiver. We thought that they could maybe fill it in the draft, but I think having a little bit more of a veteran player coming in to help whoever this rookie quarterback is probably a better move. So it's necessary. So I'm glad they made a move in that room. Yeah, and like we said, I think that TP and Marvin Mims and Cortland Sutton is a good starting 3, but I think just with new guys coming in to new roles, expanded roles, guys coming back from injury, I think you need one more to kind of shore up that group.
To me, this makes me question if Cortland Sutton's future is with the Broncos here, because right now the Broncos have like 4 guys with Josh Reynolds that should absolutely be on the field often in a game. They're not going to be able to do that with these 4 guys. Now, maybe this is maybe this shows that Tim Patrick, they're really worried about his injuries with back-to-back season-ending injuries, not playing a snap of football and like over 700 days actually on a game field, and that's totally fair. Mm-hmm. But this either shows me that they're not that confident in Tim Patrick being able to be that guy, understandably so, again, after not playing football in 700 days, or that they want to move on or see an opportunity where they could move on from Cortland Sutton. Because when I look at this wide receiver room, Josh Reynolds making up to $7 million a year, he's going to be on your football team. He's going to have a big role. Marvin Mims going to have a big role as well. So those are 2 guys that are like staples. And then it's kind of between Tim and Cortland. Maybe with Tim taking a big pay cut to be on the team this year, they're okay having him as their 4th wide receiver. But I think this gives the Broncos a lot of flexibility in terms of potentially, if they get the right deal, being willing to move on from Cortland Sutton here. And then in the end, you would save money by signing Josh Reynolds and moving on from Cortland Sutton.
Man, that's tough. I didn't see it that way. I guess I didn't want to see it that way. I was hoping that it was more of a buffer for TP coming back. And then also Marvin Mims. I think people don't understand how tough it is to be a returner and then start, as a wide receiver. It takes a lot of energy running back kicks, then to line up and try to go 10 plays. Right after that, you're going to be winded. So not a lot of starting receivers are the starting kicker, punt returner for that reason. So I thought it was a good buffer to have Marvin Mims take a few plays off, or if he wants to start, him and TP can kind of switch off if they're going to have TP play more slot. But if this is like bad news for Cortland, I don't love the signing, what I'm saying, just for what Cortland has done. But we'll have to see.
If they get rid of Cortland, they can't have a rookie quarterback. Like, you just can't do that. Like, this group would not be good enough. Like, if you're going through the season saying, go try to win some games, but also we're drafting a quarterback next year, sure. Like, you can throw Stidham out there with Josh Reynolds, Tim Patrick, and Marvin Mims, and just whatever happens. But Josh Reynolds has made some plays. Has 2 600-yard seasons in his career. It's an 8-year career. 608 last year. 5 touchdowns, best mark of his career. Like, not a bad player by any means, but he hasn't caught 50 catches in caught 50 balls in any of the last 4 years. Like, you have that. You've got Tim Patrick, who at his peak is more productive than Josh Reynolds, but it's been a couple of years, obviously. Marvin Mims has to kind of show that he's worthy of playing time. And so, even if you're really high on Marvin Mims, even if you're high on Tim Patrick and expect a career year from him, even if you expect a career year from Josh Reynolds, you're still not looking at a group that's, top 20 in the NFL probably. And if you put a rookie quarterback in that situation, it's just not going to work.
This is a good contract for Josh Reynolds. Like you said, Henry, last year coming off arguably his best season, 40 catches, 608 yards, started 13 games, played in all 17, 5 touchdowns, $7 million. That's a pretty solid contract. Clearly the Broncos
up to 7.
Up to 7,
yeah.
Yep. Clearly the Broncos have a vision for him, and I just think one of the things we talked about on the show is you want to have some flexibility. You don't want to have to feel like you're pressured to do certain things going into a draft. Now I think this gives them flexibility with definitely not needing to draft a wide receiver now, but also the flexibility of if someone comes with a good enough offer for Cortland Sutton, making a move there. I just don't see them making a move with Tim Patrick, with Marvin Mims, with Brandon Johnson. I think that's the guy that could now be moved from here, but it's not like they now need to force him out because they just gave a wide receiver $20 million, now have to save money. But I think this gives them the flexibility, which is key. Really quick, give this an initial grade, this signing a grade.
I'm going to say B.
Yeah.
I think he's a solid player. I think he's an offensive weapon, which we need. So I'm going to give it a B and see how it shakes out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give it a B. I think so. Yeah, B's good.
I'll go B-. I think it's really close. It's just a decent amount of change to pay him. So there we go. Broncos add a weapon on offense.